Tuesday morning, live, WNBF Binghamton Now. We welcome to the program Gary Kurz of the Silo Restaurant and Carriage House. Good morning.
Good morning, Bob.
Well, we hadn't spoken in a long time, but we had a nice conversation yesterday. And first, I want to congratulate you on the work that you and the folks all associated with the Silo Restaurant have done over the decades. I think so many people have had a lot of great times at the place in the town of Coventry over the years. It's always been worth the ride out there, in my opinion.
Used to be in one of my ads. The Silo Restaurant, the place you've been meaning to go. It's worth the short drive.
Yep. And I believe you recorded some of those commercials back when the station was at Center Plaza in downtown Binghamton, back in those days.
Yep, a lot of good memories.
Absolutely. Well, I was fascinated to learn a few things about you when we spoke yesterday, and perhaps we'll talk a bit about your background. The bottom line, though, is after all these years, after decades of working at the Silo Restaurant, first alongside your parents and then as the owner, you've decided that, indeed, I want to retire. That's the bottom line.
And I'm not so sure that I want to retire. I just think it's probably time. I'm getting old.
Well, that's the thing. Time marches on. And as my journalistic colleague, Jeff Platsky, had, he loves reporting, and I know it. And he and I have had plenty of conversations about the news business and reporting over the last several years. And even though things get more challenging, he's in his heart. He has journalism in his blood, but today's his last day at the Press and Sun Bulletin. There does come a time.
There does. Well, good luck to Jeff Platsky.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit of how you wound up in Chenango County, because the one thing that you and Jeff Platsky do have in common, you both as kids were in Queens. You grew up in Queens.
Yeah, I grew up in Queens till I was 9. Actually, my mother and father owned a little grocery store in Queens. My father worked at Con Edison, and my mother wanted to buy the grocery store, so they did. And I grew up in that grocery store, and then my brother always liked to move to the country, so he moved from Queens to North Jersey and bought a house there, and then my parents decided they wanted to follow him and buy a house there, too. So they did, and it was a very rural area of North Jersey, much like it is here in Coventry in Chenango County. And so I really consider myself a Jersey boy, that I grew up in North Jersey. And then I moved up when my parents bought the restaurant in 1972. I was coming up on weekends helping them. And then I decided that I wanted to move up full-time and run the restaurant with them. So in 1973, I made that decision and moved up here in late 73.
And what I had not realized until I started doing some research, it hasn't always been called the Silo Restaurant. In fact, in its original incarnation, going back to the late 60s, it was called Ye Olde Silo Restaurant.
That's correct. And my parents wanted to keep the name Ye Olde Silo. However, that they went bankrupt, from what I understand, and because it was bankrupt, they couldn't keep the name Ye Olde Silo, so they changed it to The Silo.
Tell me about the challenges of operating a restaurant, especially a restaurant like the Silo. And I've had a conversation, in fact, multiple conversations with Jim McCoy in the last year or two about the challenges he faced running the number 5 restaurant here in Binghamton, and also Lampy's and Endicott. While there may be a lot of rewards to owning and running restaurants that people look to as destinations, it's not simple if you want it to succeed.
No, it's definitely difficult, especially for the Silo in our location, because we are definitely a destination restaurant. You don't just normally happen to drive by the Silo, although a lot of people, are taking their kids from the New England states to Cornell or Ithaca College, and they'll stop on their last year and say, "Yee, we've been passing your sign for 4 years, and we finally decided to stop. I wish we'd stopped sooner." And I say, "I wish you did too."
Well, it's true. It's not as though you have an exit from Interstate 81 or 86, and people say, We can stop there and get a good meal and enjoy dessert. No, people have to actually, in almost every case, make a decision ahead of time. We're going to travel. In some cases, might be an hour, and certainly in some other cases it's even longer, but you have to be offering something special in order for people, especially in this day and age when people, I find, more and more want instant gratification. I mean, when you can get someone throwing a hamburger at you 15 seconds after you've ordered it at the drive-through window, I mean, we've become spoiled, I think, to getting our food fast. Not necessarily great, but certainly fast.
Yes, definitely. And one of our problems at the silo is, well, we've been, I think, very consistent over the years. I've had my chefs have been with me for many, many years, and my staff, my wait staff and bartenders, all been with me a long time. What makes it difficult is that normally during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's not that busy. So I might have one waitress working and one bartender and me and one of my cooks working. But then weekends come along, and if we have weddings, then I've got to have everybody working. And then when the holidays get there, like Mother's Day, Easter, Father's Day, and Thanksgiving, we have to have everybody working and then some. We have to find people who are willing to come in and help, because it's not like we're a restaurant in downtown Binghamton or on the Vestal Parkway that's always busy. They're geared for it. They're pretty much max capacity most of the time or close to it. At the silo, we're like 2% capacity most of the time, and when the governor said, okay, now you can open up 50% capacity, well, that was no problem. We never hit 50% capacity.
Unless it's Easter, and that's another thing that we talked briefly about yesterday, about my experiences at the silo on Easter. I always enjoyed them and was impressed by what really was, I think, it's performance art. When you see a restaurant, especially a place like the Silo, operating under those conditions with so many guests, so many people on, whether it's the wait staff or other support staff, it's almost a ballet to pull it off without any major problems.
It is, and we do that quite often. But every now and then we have a little glitch too, and that always bothers us when oh man, we should have had an extra hostess on, an extra this on, and but you do the best you can, and I think we've done that this is, like I said, our 48th year in business. So, and a lot of my staff has been with me almost that long.
Well, and I've talked about it, say, with respect to a radio station, a program, or news, or whatever. As long as you have the human element involved, sometimes there are going to be problems, inevitably. Sometimes mistakes will be made or misunderstandings or whatever. And I think, actually, when that sort of thing happens, when people step back, it's kind of in 2020 to see that everything hasn't been completely automated and turned into an app. It's actually fortunate that we still have, whether it's this radio program with a human touch or the Silo restaurant with a human touch, there still is that human element.
Yep, that is exactly the case. And and we and now I just decided that it's time to step back and retire with my wife. And if we sell, it's always the if. If we don't sell, I'll be here until I die.
Well, you never know. You never know. And I mentioned Mr. McCoy earlier. He didn't know. He had his two properties in Binghamton and Endicott available for a couple of years, and he had to just wait it out and see what happened. You can't predict. But I know one thing you pointed out to me, that say somebody who has been, say, running a restaurant, say downstate, maybe in New York City, or who knows, Long Island or Westchester County, and they want a change of pace but still be able to operate a restaurant that is beloved and respected. This could certainly provide a wonderful opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And somebody that has a few dollars to expand, maybe put on a nice deck or an outdoor patio, because it's gorgeous up there. And the view from the silo is one of the things that makes it special. I think our food does as well. But the view is tremendous. And our banquet room, when you have a wedding, it's not like you're in an enclosed banquet hall. It's all windows overlooking the valley, and you see the deer and sometimes coyotes and wild turkeys. And, it's amazing what you see looking out those windows. So somebody that wants to expand a little bit and build on and make it even nicer than it is, at this point, honestly, I just don't have the money to do that, but I'd love to put an outdoor deck or patio on.
Yeah, plenty of opportunity, and it's a restaurant. It's a venue truly with a view, and people who've been there know exactly what I'm referring to. The view is spectacular, whether it's in the middle of summer or even in winter with snow on the fields. It's just a majestic view.
It is, and it's a view I never tire of. People say it to me all the time, "Oh my God, look at that view." I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, and I've been here 48 years, and I never tire of it. I look at it all the time and always appreciate it. So that makes it special.
And we have a few pictures of the restaurant and even the lovely house. If people want the whole package, they can check it out on our website, WNBF.com. Gary Kurz of the Silo Restaurant and Carriage House in Chenango County, I appreciate your joining us. I wish you and your wife the best in the years ahead.
Well, thank you, Bob. It was a pleasure being on your program, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Hope you have a great holiday season.
Thank you. You too.
It's 9:58 at News Radio 1290 WNBF, a Tuesday morning. You're listening to Binghamton Now, live and local, doing it for you. We've been doing this essentially.